You guys can't see it, but there is a cat just watching me. He's just watching. Hi, I'm B. Hawthorne, and I'm a writer, which is kind of weird to say that actually. I'm not like a professional writer by any means. I'm a hobbyist at best. I just love writing. I love the craft, I love the process, I love sharing my fun little stories with my friends. And so this is my first AuthorTube YouTube video. I sound sort of like a 50-year-old mom trying to like connect to her gay 15-year-old. A little bit. This is my first video blog. It's just inherently very funny to say. Hi, we're just gonna do the newbie tag for AuthorTube. I love the like, I love that we're still doing tags in 2024. Like, to me, it feels very like a tag feels so reminiscent of like 2012 YouTube, where like your favorite gay couples would do the couples tag. Like, that was like, whenever those videos dropped, that was like an event. Okay, so first question. How did you find out about AuthorTube? This is fun. Okay, so for years I knew about BookTube. I have been a somewhat constant watcher of BookTube. It's always just something that's good to like throw on in the background while you're cleaning or doing something else. I love a good half-hour-long video. So I was always like a BookTube fan. But I never really realized how prolific AuthorTube was as well. Like, I wasn't aware, because writing seems so like solitary and lonely and just something you do in the dark on Google Docs. Maybe that's just me, but like it like seemed weird to me that there was a whole community of people who were authors on YouTube. So I really got into it though, in like the last year I've started watching quite a bit more of AuthorTube. I think my first one was Christiane Jones, I wanna say. But yeah, I've been like really enjoying that because I love seeing the process behind everybody's writing, because so many people, some of my own friends included, just think that writing just sort of happens, but it really doesn't. Like, nothing creative ever just happens without there being a process behind it. So seeing everybody else's process is really like what drew me to AuthorTube. I think it's so fascinating. Let's go next question. What genres do you write in? I love writing mysteries. I know. It's a genre by and for old people, mostly. It's a genre that like my grandma loved that shit. It is not like a cool genre. I love mysteries though. I think that's genuinely my favorite type. That's my favorite genre. But I love mysteries. I also write a fair bit of fantasy. I really like the intersection between fantasy and mystery. I think that's such a fun space to play in. And some of my favorite mysteries have been fantasy mysteries, or mysteries that are like set very deeply in another genre. Like, for example, I read Robert Jackson Bennett's The Tainted Cup recently. And I'm like, that's the best book I've read all year. I had a great fucking time with that. But that is, you know, just sort of like, that's a fantasy mystery. That's what I like to write personally. I grew up reading Geronimo Stilton and watching Scooby-Doo and then reading the Dresden Files, you know? Like, I really, really love mysteries. The amount of Agatha Christie on my bookshelf is genuinely, there's a lot there. And girl, she's been dead for like 100 years. And yet still goes multi-platinum on my bookshelf every day. What is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? Okay. So point of view is funny because I was always like a third person limited or like a third person omniscient girly for years and years and years. But then my most recent project, my most recent novel, I just started writing and it felt better to be first person. It just like the story hit better when it was first person, when it was very like I. And so when I got into like that character's brain and started telling the story, I was like, oh, this is like detective noir novels have always for the longest time been in like very first person point of views. And I'm like, I get why, because it's very hard to write one that's not first person. So I was a third person girly. I am now a first person girly for this project. We'll see if that continues for my next one. I don't think it will, but I'm having fun like playing with it right now. What were the other parts? Preferred writing tense, point of view, and the category of story. Okay, I write adult books. Are you a plotter, pantser, or plancer? This is so fun to me because I think maybe the most pantser a pantser has ever been. I do think it's funny. I think all authors are at times in their lives each one of these things because the writing process is different for each and every book that you write and each and every story that you write. But I am a pantser. I sit down and I write the scene, and then I write the scene that happens after that. And then if I'm feeling it, I go back and I write the scene that happened before the first scene that I wrote. And I just sort of like jump around. And it works for me. I do need to, it always makes for it always makes it tougher to like revise as you go. Because then you have to like, my current project, I wrote a bunch of scenes and they're all great and they're all bangers. And then now I have to like tear them apart and put them back together again. I sort of have to Frankenstein my own creation. Frankensteining my own creation, that is just the plot of Frankenstein. Frankenstein was his creation. I need to sort of do a little bit of a Frankenstein to get this, to make any project work, which is the hard part of being a pantser. But I like it a lot more because I don't have to worry about a plot or an outline. I can just sort of go, and God, I love to just go. I feel like pantsers always have to like apologize for being pantsers. Like, sorry, I don't use like an outline or anything. I just kind of go, which is crazy because to me, plotters should apologize for being plotters. Apologize for trying to make me write outlines for hundreds of years when I was in school. That don't work for me. I just kind of go, and then we do it different later if we need to. Are you self-published, published, or yet to be published? I'm finishing up work on my first novel, The Rope Salesman, now, and then finishing up work is actually a very great, very, very fun way to put it. It's not at all true. I am sort of finishing up my first draft of The Rope Salesman now, and then I'll be documenting the process of querying that eventually. I want to have my first draft, I want to be done by August, and then I'm gonna let things sit through the end of the year, and then I'll probably pick it back up again early next year because I want to write something totally different for Nano this year. So I'm not published yet. I want to be really bad because I don't think self-publishing is for me. I don't think I'm again, I am built different, built bad. I need somebody to give me a deadline. And self-publishing, unfortunately, does not do that. So there's that. What publishing company, literary agent, printing company are you represented by or use? And if you're not published, what's your dream publishing house or literary agent? I do not speak my dreams into existence. I'm not doing it. I love everybody who loves the power of manifestation. That could not and is not me. I get very scared if I have to say what agents I really, really want to be represented by or what publishing house I really, really want to be published by. I do not speak that into existence. No thank you. Come back to me in years maybe once I do have my agent. What AuthorTube related videos can we expect to find on your channel? So the reason I want to start an AuthorTube channel is because I want to do sort of like that vlogging the working process type. That's the reason I personally watch AuthorTube a lot, is because when they sit down and type, I'm like, okay, well, here's my 20 minutes of typing time for a day kind of thing. So I really want to do that, like vlogging my working process. I also feel like I have such a weird, strange little process that I'm excited to share with everybody else because I don't know if people are gonna like my little goblin process. But I do want to do that. I also want to, I feel like we get inspiration from some of the strangest places. So I really want to deep dive into some TV shows, movies, other books that have really like inspired me in my process, and sort of like go into why those have inspired me so much and sort of talk about what you can take from any piece of media you watch. I think that's very interesting. I also have a film degree, so expect a fair amount of talk about TV, movies, video games, other things, other forms of art that I see and that I enjoy and that I bring into my writing process. When did you start writing? This is so fun because I don't remember if there was like a specific time in my life that I've started writing. I feel like I've always done it. My mother is a teacher, so she got me started reading and writing very young. She teaches preschool now, so like, you know, my preschool years, I was like in those trenches, reading, writing, doing extra credit homework at home because she is a teacher and just like started me young. So I feel like I've always written stories. There's some really old ones that my mom still has from when I was a baby, when I was like 5 or 6 and I was like starting to write sentences that could technically be considered complete sentences, but they weren't good. I have done all of that. So I don't remember when I've like started writing. I know 2 years ago, I moved to a new city and got heavily involved in the NaNoWriMo scene during November. And that really like reignited my love for writing. And that like really helped. And that's why I like developed my writing group. And that's why we like exist today, is because that community of writers during November was so powerful that we couldn't contain it to just November. We had to do the whole year. So like I reignited my love for writing when I was 24, but I have written for as long as I can remember, and even longer than I can remember. What was the first story you ever wrote? This is an interesting one because I did find it recently. Like I said, one of my great loves always has been writing and reading, and one of my biggest loves when I was a child was a series of books called Geronimo Stilton. It was punny, cheesy, literally, mystery stories about a mouse detective. And if all of that does not just intrigue you, we can't be friends. But Geronimo Stilton was one of my first, like, loves. I truly had so many of those books. Truly so many. I found recently when I was helping my mom move, I found effectively fan fiction that I wrote for Geronimo Stilton, the Mouse Detective Man. I did a mystery. Like, I did it bad because I was like 8 or 9, of course, but like, it was a mystery and it did track actually, which was deeply surprising to me. And that was like the first story that I like found that was like written down on like a notebook, and like clearly I had torn the notebook pages out of the notebook, and then I like had bound them together and put a cover on it. And I was like, I must have been like 8 or 9 because my handwriting is dog shit, even though my handwriting is still kind of dog shit today. But yeah, Geronimo Stilton fanfic, first story I ever wrote. And today I still write fanfiction, just not for Geronimo Stilton. Godspeed. What authors have inspired your writing the most? This is interesting because I don't know. Recently, I have been very much enjoying the works of Raymond Chandler because I'm currently writing a detective noir mystery. All he did was write detective noir mysteries. But there are even some things within his writing that I read and then I'm like, this is bad. I can do this better. Like, I know why you did this because it was 1934 or whatever. But like, we can do this one better. So this is me announcing that I have beef with Raymond Chandler, famous acclaimed noir novelist, sort of the father of modern detectives. I have beef with that guy. I think some of his plots are just damn near incomprehensible. If anybody can tell me what actually goes on within The Big Sleep, would love to know. But I do know what's going on within The Big Sleep. But then the other people whose works I admire, obviously, I love Agatha Christie, sort of, who doesn't? I also really love, I've been getting more into Arthur Conan Doyle's original Sherlock Holmes, just because, man, that guy's been adapted to hell and back, and I'm seeing why everybody changes a lot about Sherlock Holmes, because Wow, my guy ACD. What's going on here, homie? What is going on here, bud? So, I have beef with Raymond Chandler and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, both of whom are men who have been dead for upwards of 50 slutty years. Do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to writing whenever you find the time? I do a little bit of both. Actually, I run a writing group, so we have scheduled writing times every week. We have 2 a week, so I do have that sort of like, if I know I can't write any time else during the week, I know I have 3 hours on Sunday that I will be around other writers and we will write. But the other thing that I do is I am a write when I have the timer. I love to play a video game and then I'll sort of like pause the game, write, play video game, pause the game, get back to writing. And that's a lot of like what I do. I love to play House Flipper and I'll sort of like do one room and then I will pause and I'll write 1,000 words or whatever. And then I'll do another room and then I'll pause and I'll write another 1,000 words or whatever. That really like helps me. I have ADHD, my brain doesn't like to focus in a good way, so sometimes I give myself a little reward of playing a fun little video game and then I do some writing, and then I know that if writing just isn't working, then I can go back to playing my fun little video game. But more often than not, writing works so I can keep writing and then I'll leave my video game on pause. Do you type on a computer, typewriter, write everything out by hand, or use a blend of those? And where do you write in general? Okay, so I'm actually, I think, maybe very strange in this way, but I do my first draft is always on paper. So I have a traveler's notebook that I use for work, and I got this brand and like this like type of notebook system specifically so that I could have one section of this just be for writing. So if you don't know how like a traveler's journal or like a traveler's notebook or like modular journaling works, so you get an insert that is like a type of paper that you can just like put 3 or more of those into a notebook. And I got this type of notebook specifically so that I could have one of these. I decorate it with stickers, by the way. So one of these is like my work bullet journal. The other one of these is like a weekly calendar. And then one of these is just for my writing project. So my current work in progress, The Rope Salesman, was written entirely while I was sitting at work, and I just like would flip to another page and I would start writing The Rope Salesman while I had a few spare minutes. And I did that so that I wouldn't look like I was a bad employee by being on my phone. So like this, for example, is the first draft of the first act of Rope Salesman. As you can see, I take it all very seriously. I decorate it with little stickers and then I hand write it. So this is like, so I just write on front and back. That was a bad example page. Like front and back of writing here. And my handwriting is so dog shit that I'm so sure none of you will be able to read it. But inside this is about, this is like give or take 3,000 to 5,000 words inside this journal. And then once I go and I type it, that balloons out to 10,000 to 15,000 words. I basically like, I do this just to get the words down on the page while I have them in my head. And then I like go through and I add descriptions of places, and all the like internal conflict is all added later when I type it up on Google Docs or Scrivener. I'm a write wherever I get the chancer. I love also, like I do this quite often, is I'll write down an idea for a scene on like a Post-it note and then I will just stick it inside the notebook and I'll like go through it when I get home and I'm like, what is this Post-it note? What was I trying to say? And then I'll connect the dots eventually, trust me. But where do I write in general? Usually I write, obviously at work when I have the time in my office, but like my weekly writing group meets up in coffee shops and libraries, and then other than that though, I just write on my desktop or laptop, or if I haven't written all day and I need to hit my daily word count goal, I will write on my phone in bed. I am very much a believer in write where you can when you can. I do not really like, I feel like some writers really like, they need to be in a specific spot to write, and it only works for them if they're in their office, they have their cup of tea in front of them, and they write for like 4 hours straight. That is not me. That is not me, that is not my vibe, that is not what you can expect on this channel. I write when I have the time, truly whenever I have the time. I wrote one of the best scenes I've ever written from a gas station in Kansas while I was waiting for a fucking tire to get fixed. Truly, write whenever you have the time, wherever. Just write. Last question. What part are you most looking forward to now that you're part of AuthorTube? I'm really looking forward to the community on here. Like I said before, I run a writing group of in real life writers, so I know how powerful that like writing community is, and I'm really excited to experience that online. I'm really excited to like meet other people who are at the same level of their career that I am. Calling it a career feels so generous. I'm so excited for the community to like meet new people and to sort of like really grow as a writer, but also like as somebody who can talk about writing, you know? Because I can talk for fucking hours about just about anything, but I really am excited to learn and to grow in my talking and thinking about writing life. So I think that's kind of it, actually. There's nothing really else in the tag, I don't think. Hang on, did I get through all my questions? Hang on. Yes, perfect. But yeah, I guess just like in the comments down below, like if you want to introduce yourself, tell me what you're working on. Are you excited to see a less aesthetic take on writing? Are you ready to see my little gremlin ways? I'm really excited for this. I feel like it'll help me grow as a writer and content creator, so yeah, let's go write, actually. Have you written today? You should probably write today. I hate to break it to you. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. Just try and get like 200 words down on the page. That's more than nothing.